Hello everyone, Problematic Boy here. It's been a while since I posted a video, but I wanted to talk about my current SSF builds that I'm doing and do a little league update. Let's go over to my Boston character first, and then we'll talk a little bit about this mapping character that I've just leveled up. Go to our level 96 bosser here. And there's not too much to say about this character, other than I'll talk about a little bit how I built it. It's a little different than, for instance, well, it's based off of K Gaming's, but I've changed it a little bit just to have some spell suppression. This is a Skeleton Mage bosser. I mean, it does all the bosses really well. If you know, doing maps, you have volley, swap, and hypothermia, just like that. Hypothermia for single target. And the gear is normal-ish. I mean, it's only a +1, but it's got the Fear Essence mod. This is a nice chest, defensive chest. Pure defensive chest, no +2 tabular or anything. I do have the 2120 summon skeletons. It's not too hard to get in SSF. You know, at 20 Vol skeletons, you can easily just farm Alva Temples with it. That's what I did. Just farmed the 83 Alva Temples, which is what I was doing, just farming 83 Alva Temples until I got I got my first try, but you can just keep doing it until you get it. And of course, you're just spending that time leveling the gems, flipping them for the quality, of course. I have spell suppression on the helmet, another recombination. Recombinators are great. And we have a spell suppression shield with a curse effect on it, which is pretty nice. Betrayal curse effect. And then I don't even have you could recomb a +1 skeleton and +1 skills amulet from Delve. So it's probably easier than getting ashes. I'm just don't feel like I need it. We have 12 skeletons right now, as you can see, 12 skeletons. And yeah, it's just a skeleton build, still using the Vixen's entrapment, which I kind of hate, but it's so much damage. Here's the tree, in case anyone's wanting the tree. I bought into the pass, of course, for the skeleton MTX. It's a single cluster. Now, I want to talk about, you know, a little. My gear's not that good, right? I'm not using damage on the chest. We're not using a flesh crafter. We're not using any plus gem corrupted or anything like that. We just have Feasting Fiends, Call to Slaughter. We're not using Skeletal Atrophy, of course, because it's useless. And then Blessed Rebirth, Feasting Fiends, Life from Death, Feasting Fiends. I think I wouldn't change the medium clusters at all, except maybe get a 4 passive one to save a point. And there's a lot of good things you can get for a third mod here. I think Renewal for the crit one is good too. Just to get those as a third mod, that's a possible upgrade on this cluster. But I don't even have a 3 mod large cluster. I'm only using a 2 mod large cluster right now. And then we have Enduring Composure, which I think is pretty necessary. And we have a Fettle, which isn't completely necessary. But we have Fettle. You could go Searching Vitality. You can get anything here. You can even go Chaos Res here if you want. It's really open. Oh yeah, the tree is pretty normal besides that stuff. And like I said, this does pretty much everything. Like, I'm confident I can do Uber Elder on this. I haven't got my freaking fragment yet, but I did Maven. I've done Maven twice on this. Pretty smooth. Not deathless because I'm new to the fight. This is my first Maven ever. Actually did my first Maven ever on the EA, and then my Explosive Arrow character, which I haven't showcased. But I'm not going to showcase it because at this point it's kind of obsolete. But that was my first Maven ever. My second Maven ever was on this character, and we only did it with 1 death. So, getting better at the fight. There's no reason to die on it. And we have a very mid-animated Guardian, too. It doesn't really have a whole lot of stuff on it. It doesn't even have the Maven boots yet, because they haven't dropped. So, that's this character. It's just a pretty chill. I'd say it's a very good bosser. I've done... yeah, pretty much everything but Uber Elder on here, and I'm not touching Uber. My plan is probably not to really touch Ubers till like the end of the league, maybe. Like the actual Uber bosses. I'm not gonna touch them in the league. So yeah, that's just this character. Pretty normal, pretty safe. I'd say it's a safe mid-speed mapper and a very good safe bosser. And then I want to talk a little bit about my mapper that I've just made, because it's a little more unique. So let's go to character selection and go to the Omega Mapper. This is an occultist, and like most occultist Plague Bearer builds, it's be very good for mapping. It's Tri-Curse with a Heretic's Veil. I'm not sure about this, but it adds a lot of damage. Tons of damage here. We 6-linked a Dendrobate. I 6-linked Dendrobate yesterday, so we're running that for the 7-link. Firestorm, of course. And here's the big star of the show. It's the Eater Boots, Inextricable Fates, which allows all of our damage to inflict poison against the 3 Grasping Vines. And I kind of want to talk about that a little bit. And we have a little bit of spell suppression. I can get more of my shield. Basically, that's how that's going, is that we need to get a better shield here. But we're kind of... Our shield's giving us a lot of res. We've got 2 Iolite Rings. This one's pretty good. This one's a little worse, but still good because it has the recoup. And our amulet doesn't even have dot multi on it, but it does have the Corruption Anoint. This belt is shit. I mean, the gloves are nice. And everything else is kind of locked. Now, you could go Consuming Dark here. The reason you would go Consuming Dark is because it makes your clear speed a little bit better. I don't want to say better, because once you get your Plague Bearer running, it doesn't matter once Plague Bearer comes online, but for that initial start of ramping up into that Plague Bearer activation, Consuming Dark would be better because it converts. And the thing is, the Inextricable Fates, they're pretty much always on during bosses because it's only 1.5 seconds, and most bosses are stationary. So let's just run a red map here. I haven't gone into Influence yet, so just run a blue bog here. Life is fine. I just run a blue bog here and just sort of show off the build. It's just poison. It's, well, I shouldn't say it's just poison firestorm. It's freaking poison firestorm. Arrive. Right? I say the biggest issue with the build is probably the mana. Probably the mana, but then we get our Plague Bearer running. Like most Plague Bearer builds. And then we're zooming, right? Now, I think Firestorm, I tested a bunch of fire skills, and I think mechanically for poison, Firestorm is very good. Because you get the initial hit, and then the Storm, you also get a lot of skill effect duration, and the Storm really does add up a lot of poisons. That's a Harvest. I'm not going to do that, just going to run a quick way through the map here. Get our Plague Bearer on. And you see that this really is a nice mapper. With the Occultist Pops. This is only level 86 right now. We're kind of starved for points. And it's finally a build that Unleash feels good on. Like, Unleash does actually feel good here. Surprisingly. Got our Plague Bearer again. I think I'm going to save it for the boss. Nah, I'm not going to save it for the boss. Maybe it'll be on when we get to him. Bossing. Now bosses kind of go. This is an increased life map, so. Make sure you get your withers up. Turn Plague Bearer on when you can. It's kind of whatever for the bossing. 52% more life. It feels pretty good. And defensively, the build has some issues as well. Obviously, once you get your Plague Bearer on, it doesn't really matter because everything dies instantly. With the life raise, you're living a little bit. Ugh. I just added on a Frost Shield as well. Okay, it seems like that's the map. That's just a quick little map demonstration. It didn't take very long. It was a bog too. Let's take a look at the tree. Typical stuff here. You want Profane Bloom, Malediction, Void Beacon, Withering Presence for your withers. I'm going this way. Our clusters aren't perfect. Like before, we could have a 3-mod here, which is good. Unwavering Evil isn't the best. Wicked Paw is good. Cybernetic Spells is necessary on one of your mediums. Brief for Potency is... I like it. You know, Flash Charges gained. Life and Mana Recovery, it has a lot more value than you'd expect. It's pretty good. And then we have Student of Decay, not the best, and Vow Reinvigoration, which is okay. It's okay. And I don't want to yoink anything from my bossing character, so small clusters we might work on. And then the tree just comes down. For leveling, we're just going to pick up more life. And I kind of want the extra Unleash seal here. What else about this build? The mana kind of sucks. I'm using this instead of a Stib Knight because I kind of want Blind incorporated somehow. And the last thing to talk about is just how good Awakened Gems are in this build. If you can get, yeah, all Awakened Gems, it's really fucking good. Awaken Up on Elements, Awaken Unleash, Awaken Deadly Elements, Awaken Added Chaos. All very good. And Gem's only level 19 right now, too, so the damage really increases by quite a bit. I think once we get a 21 Gem, it's pretty solidly at 3 million DPS. 3 million DPS with not counting the storms. So, only counting the initial hit part is about 3 million DPS, and then the storms are adding on, I don't know, some kind of weird amount. Like, probably 500k in total over their duration, maybe more. I don't know. It could be around 4 million. But, yeah, that's basically what's been going on with SSF. The Eternal Youth build kind of sputtered out. I'll give a little update about that before I go out. It just didn't have the damage without dual wielding or like super high amount of investment. But we did learn. What did we learn from the Eternal Youth? Eternal Youth is fun to play around. If you have a build that has the damage and isn't using ES recovery in some other way, I think that or doesn't, you know what I'm trying to say. That doesn't have a whole lot of life recovery. Eternal Youth is a really nice option, I think, that's overlooked. So thank you so much for watching. I'll be back, hopefully not in another 2 weeks, but sooner. Bye-bye.